Mini episode 706 of the FDH Lounge is brought to you by that NBA lottery pick, your pop culture influenced look at the world of hoops. Follow them on the web at that NBALotteryPick.com.
The FDH Lounge. You'll want to schedule your life around it.
A long time ago, on a gloomy, wet Cleveland spring night, two men stand alone amidst the late-night drizzle. Their voices echo across the vacant station parking lot as they debate the merits of the great American radio show that have been missing for far too long. On that night, an idea was born. That idea became the FDH Lounge. Welcome to the FDH Lounge.
Welcome to FDH Lounge mini episode number 706. This is FDH managing partner Rick Morris here with our preview of Better Call Saul episode 2.5 titled Rebecca. Here are the top 5 developments coming out of episode 2.4. Number 5. We now know the theme for season 2, and it harkens back to a classic Breaking Bad episode, No Half Measures. Season 1 was the story of Jimmy's emergence from being under his brother's thumb after having been fooled into thinking that it was Howard who was oppressing him. In episode 2.1, Jimmy declared to a surprised Kim that he was going to be embracing his true self. He demonstrated that attitude in spades in 2.4, particularly in how he handled being confronted by both his bosses and Kim, and those situations mark our next 2 points. Number 4. Jimmy did nothing to indicate to Cliff and the partners that he deserves another chance. When confronted about what was perceived to be his insubordination, he fell back on excuses and reasoning that came across as disingenuous, and very significantly, after being told that he was being spared from strikes 1, 2, and 3 coming simultaneously, he failed to convey any remorse or appreciation for keeping his job. He's being true to himself, but at the expense of his place in the new gilded cage. Number 3. Jimmy at least tried to make things right for Kim, but also failed to convey to her that he saw her point. Jimmy's attempt to get his brother to intervene on her behalf by offering to trade his law career was brave and selfless, but also manipulative in the sense that he was openly trying to bring Chuck down to his level. As with his bosses, he failed to convey to Kim, who similarly was putting him on probation, that he understood that his actions caused her harm, especially after she had stuck her neck out for him. This isn't the end between these two, but we know that she's not around during the Breaking Bad days. So assuming that she's still alive then, she's sure to remember this incident as at least the beginning of the end between them. Number 2. Jimmy's relationships with both leading HHM partners continue to be very intriguing. We called it coming into this season in terms of Howard and Jimmy not necessarily becoming BFFs just because they shouldn't have been enemies. Howard's still very straight-laced in his approach to the law, contrasting Jimmy's increasingly ethically challenged path. And now Howard knows that Jimmy made him look bad by vouching for him. The heat could get turned up between these two again. As for Jimmy and Chuck, there was some legitimate concern when the younger sibling discovered his older brother in distress during his surprise visit, and that can't have been lost on Chuck completely. Yes, Jimmy stuck around until morning to propose that Chuck extort him, but he was also watching to see how Big Brother made it through the night. Chuck indicated to Jimmy that despite everything, he still loves his brother, and that is undeniably true on some level, buried far beneath the pettiness and backstabbing. Given that Jimmy now sees again how vulnerable Chuck can be, maybe his brother gets erased from the Breaking Bad canvas in a somewhat unpredictable fashion. It's been logical to assume since the end of Season 1 that the two simply have a complete falling out and are no longer in any touch, but maybe Chuck gets taken out in an accident that Jimmy blames himself for since he's not regularly around anymore. Surely that would be enough of a shock to go 100% down the Saul Goodman path. Number 1. The return of Tuco brings tantalizing hints about the shape of the post-Better Call Saul Albuquerque underworld. We never saw Tuco and Mike overlapping on Breaking Bad. Tuco was killed several episodes before Mike was introduced, but they were clearly working for parallel outfits at the time. Tuco may not return during the Better Call Saul time frame, since Mike presumably got him put away for a few years, but now that Mike and Jimmy have crossed paths to some degree with Nacho, who is at least temporarily out from under Tuco's thumb, it's fascinating to think where that's going to lead. It seems like all fans of the show are awaiting the introduction of Gus Fring, who had been playing a long game against the cartels. Could Nacho, an associate of a key family in the cartel, play any kind of role in this backstory? And what does Mike's reluctance to kill Tuco tell us about how far he has to go down his particular path? We see Jimmy moving closer to embracing the Saul persona all the time, at least seemingly, but Mike still has some lines that he doesn't want to cross. This series, though, tells the story of both men obliterating the concept of having lines that they won't cross. Mike's refusal to take a life, even that of a complete scumbag like Tuco, came at a great cost physically, one that he can't bear easily at his age. The day is coming when Mike won't be so selfless, and as we remember from Breaking Bad, he'll be an even more exciting badass once he's fully come to grips with himself. Thank you for tuning in to this mini episode of the FDH Lounge.
As we bring the show to a close, we would like to extend our deepest gratitude to NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, all Clear Channel affiliates, TNT, TBS, USA, UPN, Deadspin.com, YouTube.com, YTMND.com, MySpace.com, various blogs, Fox News, CNN, CNBC, MSNBC, IamBoard.com, Billboard.com, Google.com, ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPN Classic, NBA TV, NFL Network, Sports Time Ohio, Athlon Magazine, Comedy Central, Cartoon Network, The Boomerang Channel, QVC, BET, The Spice Channel, Steno Notebooks, Manwich, Papermate Office Supplies, waitresses, strippers, bartenders, garbage men, janitors, microwave popcorn, the writers of The Office, Scrubs, Entourage, My Name is Earl, Oz, Metalocalypse and the Boondocks, Aquafina, and the periodic table of elements.